Pedestrians. Right-of-way rules, together with courtesy and common sense, help to promote traffic safety. It is important to respect the right-of-way of others, especially pedestrians, motorcycle riders, and bicycle riders. Pedestrian safety is a serious issue. A pedestrian is a person on foot or who uses a conveyance such as roller skates, skateboard, etc., other than a bicycle. A pedestrian can also be a person with a disability using a tricycle, quadricycle, or wheelchair for transportation. Pedestrian deaths occur in 17% of all traffic fatalities. Drive cautiously when pedestrians are near, because they may suddenly cross your path. Pedestrians may be at risk walking near hybrid and electric vehicles, because these vehicles are virtually silent while operating. Use extra caution when driving near pedestrians. Respect the right-of-way of pedestrians. Always stop for any pedestrian crossing at corners or other crosswalks, even if the crosswalk is in the middle of the block, at corners with or without traffic lights, whether or not the crosswalks are marked by painted lines. Do not pass a vehicle that has stopped at a crosswalk. A pedestrian you cannot see may be crossing the street.
Do not drive on a sidewalk except to cross it at a driveway or alley. When crossing, yield to any pedestrian.
Do not stop in a crosswalk. You will place pedestrians in danger. Remember, if a pedestrian makes eye contact with you, he or she is ready to cross the street. Yield to the pedestrian. Allow older pedestrians, disabled pedestrians, and pedestrians with young children sufficient time to cross the street. Important: blind pedestrians rely on the sound of your vehicle to become aware of your vehicle's presence, so it is important that you stop your vehicle within 5 feet of the crosswalk. Drivers of hybrid or electric vehicles must remain especially aware that the lack of engine noise may cause a blind pedestrian to assume there is not a vehicle nearby. Follow this cue. When a blind person pulls in his or her cane and steps away from the intersection, this gesture usually means for you to go.
Crosswalks. A crosswalk is the part of the roadway set aside for pedestrian traffic. Most intersections have a pedestrian crosswalk, whether or not lines are painted on the street. Most crosswalks are located at corners, but they can also be located in the middle of the block. Before turning a corner, watch for people about to cross the street. Pedestrians have the right of way in crosswalks. Crosswalks are often marked with white lines. Yellow crosswalk lines may be painted at school crossings most often. Crosswalks in residential areas are not marked. Some crosswalks have flashing lights to warn you that pedestrians may be crossing. Look for pedestrians and be prepared to stop whether or not the lights are flashing. Pedestrians who are blind pedestrians using guide dogs or white canes with or without a red tip must be given the right of way at all times. These pedestrians are partially or totally blind. When these pedestrians are in your vicinity, be especially careful when turning corners or backing up, particularly if you are driving a quiet hybrid vehicle.
Do not stop your vehicle more than 5 feet from the crosswalk, unless there is an advanced stop bar, line. A blind pedestrian uses the sound of your engine as a guide, so drive up to the crosswalk to allow the person to hear you. Important: drivers of electric and hybrid vehicles must be extra alert to blind pedestrians, as they may be unaware of your presence due to the nearly silent nature of these vehicles. Stop at all crosswalks where pedestrians are waiting. Do not stop in the middle of a crosswalk. This forces the blind pedestrian to go around your vehicle and into traffic outside of the crosswalk. Do not give the blind pedestrian verbal directions. A blind pedestrian listens to all traffic sounds before deciding to cross the street. Do not wait too long for the blind pedestrian to cross the street. When a blind person pulls in his or her cane and steps away from the intersection, this gesture usually means for you to go. Do not turn right without looking first. Look for any pedestrians, especially blind pedestrians or traffic, before starting your turn. Blind pedestrians who have a green light are not expecting a driver to make a right turn in front of them. Turning may result in the blind pedestrian becoming disoriented and vulnerable to being hit by another right-turning vehicle when attempting to cross the street. Do not honk your horn at a blind person. The blind person has no idea who you are honking at and may be startled by the noise. Do not block any sidewalk. Pedestrian responsibilities. Pedestrians, including joggers, should be aware of traffic conditions. Watch out for aggressive drivers before assuming that you have the right of way when crossing a street. Be aware that hybrid and electric vehicles are virtually silent when running on electric power, and you may not hear them approaching an intersection. Yield the right of way to vehicles when you cross a street between intersections and in areas with no pedestrian crosswalks or signals. Remember, making eye contact with a driver does not mean that the driver will yield the right of way. Do not suddenly leave a curb or other safe place and walk or run into the path of a vehicle close enough to be a danger to you. This is true even though you are in the crosswalk. The law states that drivers must always yield the right of way to a pedestrian, but if the driver cannot stop in time to avoid hitting you, the law will not prevent you from being hit. Always obey traffic signals. Whether the intersection has pedestrian signals or traffic lights, you must obey the pedestrian rules. At an intersection where traffic is not controlled by signals, drivers are required to yield the right of way to pedestrians within any crosswalk, marked or unmarked. When a signal first changes to green, or walk, look left, right, and then left again, and yield the right of way to any vehicle in the intersection before the signal changes. If the signal begins blinking or changes to don't walk or to an upraised hand after you have gone partway across a divided street, you may continue across the street. Do not stop or delay traffic unnecessarily while crossing a street. Pedestrians are not permitted on any toll bridge or highway crossing unless there is a sidewalk and signs stating pedestrian traffic is permitted. If there are no sidewalks, walk facing oncoming traffic. Do not walk or jog on any freeway where signs tell you that pedestrians are not allowed. Do not walk or jog in a bike lane unless there is no sidewalk. At night, make yourself more visible by wearing white, light, or reflective material clothing, carrying a flashlight.
Crosswalks are those with a solid white or yellow line in school zones and indicate pedestrian crossings. If unmarked and the street with sidewalks meet at about right angles, they still are considered crosswalks. Give pedestrians right of way.
Let's discuss major criminal traffic violations. These are moving violations that carry more serious consequences that may include jail time, higher fines to be paid, higher points assessed onto your driving record, and more. Here is a list of some of these violations: DUI, driving under the influence, extreme DUI, reckless driving, aggressive driving, excessive speeding, leaving the scene of an accident by running a red light, stop sign, or failing to yield that causes serious injury or death, racing, driving on a suspended, revoked, or canceled license. DUI. Driving while under the influence, DUI, is when a person has been drinking or using drugs while driving. The first and second offenses for a DUI are considered misdemeanor charges as long as the BAC, blood alcohol content, is not extremely high and there were no injuries or deaths involved. A third convicted offense can face the possibility of a felony charge, which increases the chances of time in prison and harsher sentencing. The average moving violation, such as speeding or running a red light, will place 2 or 3 points on a person's driving record, while a DUI will put 8 points on the record. If 8 or more points are accumulated within 1 year's time, attendance to complete traffic survival school will be required, or driving privileges may be suspended up to 1 year. An extreme DUI is when a person has been drinking or using drugs while driving and they have a BAC higher than 0.15%. Criminal punishments are pretty severe, and charges of a felony offense are a definite possibility. The point value placed on a person's driving record for this offense is 8. Reckless driving. Reckless driving is when a person drives a vehicle with no regard for the safety of people or property. This can carry a Class 1 or Class 2 misdemeanor charge. It's a Class 2 misdemeanor for the first conviction. Your driver's license must be surrendered to a police officer, and it will be suspended for no more than 90 days. If you are convicted of reckless driving again within 2 years, it now becomes a Class 1 misdemeanor. You face 20 days in jail, and your license will be revoked instead of suspended. Reckless driving will place 8 points on your driving record, and you'll need to complete traffic survival school instead of defensive driving school. Aggressive driving. The signs of aggressive driving are a combination of committing a few different moving violations while also having no regard for the safety of other people or property. Aggressive driving may include speeding, failure to signal, excessive, improper, or unsafe lane change, failure to yield the right-of-way, following a vehicle too closely, passing on the shoulder, and failure to obey traffic lights. This is a Class 1 misdemeanor if convicted of aggressive driving. Driver's license is to be suspended for 30 days, and traffic survival school must be completed. 8 points will be placed on the driving record for this conviction. Excessive speeding. You are considered to be speeding excessively when you drive more than 20 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, or if you exceed 85 miles per hour anywhere in the state of Arizona. Other times you may be considered speeding excessively are when doing 35 miles per hour in a school zone, 20 miles per hour over the posted speed limit in a business or residential area, or if no speed limit is posted and you drive faster than 45 miles per hour. If convicted, this is considered a Class 3 misdemeanor, and 3 points are placed on the driving record in addition to other penalties. Leaving the scene of an accident. If you are involved in an accident, Arizona law requires you to stop or immediately return to the scene of the accident and provide your information and reasonable assistance. If you leave the scene of the accident, or sometimes called a hit and run, there are serious consequences for doing so. The type of accident you're involved in determines the type of punishments imposed. Among many other penalties, you may be looking at misdemeanor or felony charges. For accidents with property damaged or no injuries or death was caused, you'll be facing a misdemeanor charge. For those that involve serious injuries or death, felony charges will be imposed. Your license will be revoked for 5 years, not counting any jail time served, for accidents with serious injuries, while accidents that involve deaths will get your license revoked for 10 years, again not counting any jail time served. An accident by running a red light, stop sign, or failing to yield that causes serious injury or death. If you run a red light, stop sign, or fail to yield when you're supposed to, and it causes serious injury to another party, you may be fined up to $500 and your license suspended for 3 months, in addition to possibly completing community service. This gets you 4 points on your driving record. However, if you run a red light, stop sign, or fail to yield, and it causes death, the fine is up to $1,000, license suspension for 6 months, and completing community service will be required. 6 points will be placed on your driving record. Anytime you run a red light, you must attend traffic survival school. Your license will stay suspended until the class has been successfully completed. Racing. Racing or drag racing on a street or highway is against the law in Arizona. Racing is when one vehicle tries to outgain or outdistance another vehicle or prevent another vehicle from passing. Drag racing is when 2 or more vehicles start at the same point and try to outdistance each other within a certain time or distance. Any type of race, speed competition, contest, or test of physical endurance is considered illegal. This is a Class 1 misdemeanor for the first conviction, but considered a felony for a second conviction within 2 years of the first conviction. The first conviction has a $250 fine, must complete community service, license suspension for 90 days, and possible jail time. If convicted twice in 2 years, the fine is $500, community service must be done, license will be revoked, and possible jail time. Driving on a suspended, revoked, or canceled license. Driving while your license is revoked, suspended, or canceled is a crime. As a Class 1 misdemeanor, it is punishable by a maximum of 6 months in jail and a maximum fine of $2,500. If you are caught driving with a suspended or revoked or canceled license, police may impound your vehicle. If your license is revoked, you may apply for a new license after your revocation period expires or after the cause of your revocation ends. The division will investigate your driving record and make sure that all requirements are met before it issues you a new license. You must pay a reinstatement fee in addition to any other fees. If your license is suspended, it will remain suspended until you have it reinstated. You must pay a reinstatement fee in addition to other fees. In some situations, such as those involving a DUI, the reinstatement fee after suspension or revocation is higher. Under certain conditions, you may need to provide proof that your vehicle is insured before you can be licensed again.